The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book. And the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy. You're invited. Shalom, shalom, shalom. How are you doing, brothers and sisters? How are you doing? I'm Elder Ricard, the Gathering of Christ Church, as you all know. I hope you all are having a blessed day. Yeah. And this is impromptu because I wasn't able to do an update for our Patreon last Friday, so I'm here today. Okay. I'm here. We'll be going over to Patreon in a moment before I make a few announcements. Okay. If you're interested in the Patreon, it's Patreon.com/AGathering144. Let me put that in the chat first, because I'll be going over there. Patreon. I'm typing it as I spell it here. Patreon.com/AGathering144. Okay. All right. I'll be going over there in a couple of minutes. I think there's a small fee. Of course it is, for joining Patreon, but it supports the work and it allows us to go into things, some of the things we can't talk about here. Okay. Under the guidelines. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank you all for being here with us today. What I have to unpack is very serious, very, very serious in the wake of Jacob's trouble with our people being targeted on all fronts. When I say our people, I'm talking about God's people. And also I'm speaking of Gentiles who believe in the truth of Christ. Okay. Believers are under attack. And in specific, I would like to drill down on how our people, through stealth, Black people, are getting targeted. Okay. And I'm going to be dealing with that not just today, but tomorrow on our YouTube page. All right. And I'm going to give you the insight on how to follow us going forward. Okay. All right. Now, I see a lot of familiar faces. How are you doing? Shalom to all of you. I wish I can say hi to all of you, but I have to go right in. I'm already a little late here. Okay. First and foremost, I would like to announce we have a new Hebrew and Bible Academy, which will start October 31st. October 31st, we have brand new lessons we will include, where one lesson that I'm working on in particular that I know that you all are going to, you're going to really enjoy the historical value of, is a lesson that we will have called Finding the Ark of the Covenant, the greatest weapon known to mankind. That's right. I'll be going into that. And we have a few other lessons. Another one we'll be going into is the tribulation of God's people in the wilderness. Okay. Paralleling us coming out of Egypt, being thrown into the wilderness. Okay. Without any know-how, without any understanding of how to actually go from living with a certain pattern every day under a rule to actually spontaneous being out there by ourselves without any knowledge of how to actually survive there. Okay. How are we able to survive after being thrust out by ourselves? Okay. Did we join together for the sake of self-preservation, or did that lead to another issue? The fact that we didn't get together, we weren't together all together in one mind in Egypt. Guess what? That reared its ugly head in the wilderness. So I'm going into that. Even amongst God splitting the Red Sea, him raining manna, water coming from a rock, there was still dissension and division. And you would have thought that if some people are thrust into the wilderness by themselves, that would lead to a unified front for survival. We'll be dealing with that in the academy. Because why? That it's going to happen again. We'll soon be thrust into the wilderness with no practice. There's nothing that we've dealt with in our life, okay, under a controlled living. There's nothing we've ever dealt with that could actually prepare us for being out there by ourselves with no oversight. And I'll be talking about that in the academy. So, and I have other lessons that I'm working on too, a lawyer myself. So I always say no one academy is the same. So make sure you enroll by going to historytimes.org. Okay, when the pagans are dealing with their witching hour and all that stuff that they're dealing with, we'll be in the academy October 31st, breaking down their lies, exposing the real wickedness that's rooted within paganism in this earth. That Hebrew and Bible Academy news like you've never heard before, as well as Hebrew, going back to the original language, the ancient Phoenician. And man, the lessons are impeccable, brothers and sisters. And all in all, the way the lessons are broken down, y'all know how it is. Easy to understand, okay? And to a degree where you'll begin to understand the Bible like you've never understood it before. So please, if you're interested, just go to historytimes.org. Exactly how I'm saying it here. historytimes.org, and get in advance so that you're not scrambling in the last minute. October 31st begins a new one. Okay. And thank you for all those who have participated in our prior academies. You don't want to miss the next one. Now, the next thing I wanted to say, all right, first of all, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, A Gathering 144, because this channel sometimes under the cover of night unsubscribe people. Okay. So I would need you to go and make sure if it's red there and it says subscribe, you subscribe there, hit the bell, and request to receive all notifications. Because when things go down in the earth, hey, I believe one of the last messages before segueing, if YouTube is still here, will be on this channel. So A Gathering 144, the channel you're on, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe now and hit the notifications to receive all notifications, okay? This is where we'll let you know where to find us in case whatever happens here, okay? Next thing, okay? I need you all, real quick, one moment. I need you all. Let me put it here. Yeah, that's it right there. If you may, I need all those here to click on the web page I just placed in the chat. Okay. The web page is youtube.com, the GOCC media. Okay. Now, what you're looking at here is our media page. That's our media page. Okay. Going forward, Starting tomorrow, we'll be doing our weekly blogs from the GOCC Media's page. Okay. This page will be almost exclusively dealing with Bible breakdown and prophecy. This main page. The GOCC Media will be actually attacking and drilling down on hard-hitting issues that are currently affecting our people socially. Okay? And we're going to start doing our blogs from this particular page, the GOCC Media. So if there's anything going on media-wise that you need to know about, and like tomorrow, we will be breaking down through the Bible. We will be breaking down tomorrow, folks. A matter of fact, let me give you the title for the lesson tomorrow here. 1 second. Yeah. The manipulation of blacks in America will be our blog tomorrow. The manipulation of blacks in America. So this is where we share ideas, open up the calls, give insight, receive insight to come to a resolution outside of the controlled narrative. Okay? So the GOCC Media. So if you haven't subscribed to that page, do it now, because a lot of the content that give you the weekly updates of what's going on in the earth will be discussed on this page through a blog. Okay? I wanted to put that out there for you. The GOCC Media, subscribe. Okay, subscribe there. Make sure you subscribe there. Okay? Make sure you subscribe there. And hit all notifications, because our weekly teachings and discussions, on Wednesday will pivot here eventually. Okay. Tomorrow we will start as a guest on GOCC NYC. And at that point, we'll pivot to GOCC Media. All right. Okay. Now, I know everyone here is for the topic we'll be discussing on Patreon. Let me unpack what we'll be dealing with, okay, before going over there. What we'll be dealing with is the truth concerning, or it could be alleged, not alleged, because we have news articles showing that our people must get concerned about how social media has opened up a serious highway of stalkers to come against black women. Okay? Our sisters in particular, and these are real local stories. All right? In different areas. St. Louis. Okay? Atlanta. We're going to be talking about this. Okay? We're going to be talking St. Louis, Atlanta, Philadelphia, all the metropolitans. There's a thing going on where sisters who think the internet is okay to exploit themselves not having a protector. Well, guess what? The system understands that the majority of women out there, black women in particular, do not have a man. Now, we're not going to go into whose fault it is. Who cares? They don't care about whose fault it is. The fact that they know these women aren't protected, and the only people in the house are young children, there's a lane to come against these sisters and to cause grave damage. Fatalities and otherwise, and there's real stories going on right now that I want to talk about. I'm also going to unpack, on top of this exploitation of separating families, that out of nowhere they're hiding stories like this that was talked about, then swept under the rug. A white DJ accused of trying to infect 700 black women and girls with HIV. And one thing in particular I'm curious about, this happened in 2019. I'm curious to why they didn't try this guy under the Mann Act. They didn't put RICO or racketeering charges on this guy. And I wonder why. I mean, suppose R. Kelly was trying to infect 700 black women, or just in particular. Just say it. But we're going to unpack some of that in our discussion. The other thing we're going to impact is how they're pushing black women as boss women. But at the same time, brothers and sisters, that's right, opening black women up for exploitation, murder, and everything else that could happen. And guess what? It's not me saying it. It's not me saying it. It's the mainstream media saying that these stories locally, black women by themselves are being attacked, stalked for many reasons. Many reasons. Are these individuals who are stalking them, are they paid to do it? What's going on? Because guess what? That's on the rise, where sisters are being followed. Not me saying it. I'm going to prove all of this through their mainstream local network news stations. So they're promoting the boss black woman, knowing what? There can only be one boss in the house, and that's the man. Automatically, they're promoting conflict and friction between black families. All of this looks good. Oh, I'm a boss and all that. But hey, they're doing it so they can get to here. Is a shooter targeting black women in St. Louis. See that boss here from the Cadillac commercial where all the black women get in the car like their bosses will be exploited here with no man. And here, let me get this out of the way. And here, flower delivery man attack. Atlanta woman says a delivery man used a taser on her. See, all this looks good. A black woman gets in the car, looks at another black boss, Cadillac. She is staring at her, pushing lesbian undertones. Now, usually this used to be black men or men in general. Meet me in a car, Cadillac. Working all night. Obviously, there's no man home. And what's going on? Who's feeding the children? This is what they're promoting as cool. So I said, look, I want to be a boss woman, right? Another black woman looking in the mirror, boss woman. No black men in sight. They all get in a car and drive off into bossness. Folks, this propaganda is destructive and is leading sisters in a place where there'll be no protection. No protection for them. Another thing I'm going to unpack, and we're going to open up the phone calls once I do this, is there's 9 best business grants for black women entrepreneurs. Do you know that there's grants that only black women as entrepreneurs can receive? Now, this is not done amongst any demographic of people where only white women can get something. Okay. There's nothing that a white woman can get in loans that a white man can't. And a lot of you say, well, white women are minorities. They can get minority money. Well, guess what? A white man can be gay and get minority money. So there's nothing that a white man can get. A white woman can get that a white woman can get that a white man can't. But they have loans that only black women as entrepreneurs can receive. Why is that? Why is that? Suppose there were loans out there that only Chinese women could receive. What are they saying outright when they say, when it comes to building generational wealth as entrepreneurs, there's money that's totally off the table for black men? I'm going to be unpacking that also. So we're going to be unpacking all this, and I'm going to start off with the white R. Kelly here that's not under RICO charges. Okay? I'm going to unpack these stories one at a time, and then I'll be opening up the calls on our Patreon weekly review. Okay? Today we're dealing with the sisters. Tomorrow I will not be going on Patreon. This will be on GOCC Media tomorrow night. Okay? GOCC Media, where we'll be discussing, that's right, the manipulation of blacks in America. The manipulation. This boss woman crap has to stop. And you know who need to stop it? You know who need to stop it? Sisters need to stand up and say how destructive this propaganda is for their families, for their daughters. There's no black family without a black man. So they're doing this expecting no pushback from black sisters. Because a black man don't want a boss woman. Neither do a white man, neither do a Chinese man, neither do any real man. No man wants a boss woman. And the examples I'm going to give tomorrow night is I'm going to show two rams charging into each other to do what? To get territory, to gain ground. I'm going to start tomorrow's broadcast off with two rams, boom, going into each other. And you know what? That dovetails what's going on. That highlights what's going on in our community. Where in order for a decision to be made, conflict must be had first so that either one can gain ground on someone they claim to love or supposed to be building with. Every decision shouldn't come with getting territory. Animals operate like that. And usually when there's two rams, it's two male rams ramming at each other so that one can gain territory over the other. This is how animals stake their own ground, not cognitive, smart human beings who are looking to build legacy. It's like we sit individually in our homes by ourselves, a man and a woman, and think and calculate how to gain ground on someone we should be in agreement with. Okay? No, we shouldn't have to make decisions through conflict. So I'm going to be discussing all of that between today and tomorrow. Today and tomorrow. Is it? Oh man, I'm 15 minutes past the time. Sorry, brothers and sisters. I apologize. I must segue over into Patreon, okay? I'm going to segue into Patreon. Again, let me put up Patreon.com/A Gathering 144. Okay, that's the link. You can join Patreon. Make sure if you go to Patreon to see our weekly updates. I have a lot of stuff I put up there that cannot be shown, obviously, here due to the new guidelines since the virus came. Okay, so a lot of other guidelines been put in too, where it's almost censorship. All right. Now, tomorrow, when I speak tomorrow, so go to Patreon to join that. When I go into our conversation tomorrow, brothers and sisters, in particular, we'll be unpacking unpacking Dave Chappelle's, what he said was his last stand up for Netflix. Okay? Because what he did was allow us to have the conversation without censorship. The conversation. So I don't have to say, well, this is my opinion on something. Now I can have an opinion on his stand up, on certain points he made, to ask the questions, to draw dialogue. To draw dialogue so that we can discuss it, to why certain things are so. How is it that we can talk about black men being killed and use the N-word indiscriminately and degrade our own women and do all that, but we cannot openly use a racial slur against any other people without being canceled? But the people that we cannot use a racial slur against or say anything against, or we're anti this or anti that, owns corporations where they actually incentivize the degradation of black people. See, what Dave Chappelle said and what he did was courageous. Because what he did, he allowed conversations to be had, practical and logical conversations. And at the end of the day, what Dave Chappelle was highlighting is the fact that the black man has been, since the time of slavery, has been between the crosshairs of their scope. That we've been public enemy number one in the media and otherwise. And what the power structure has done, they've allowed other people to be tethered in position with a black face to push their destructive propagandas against our people. And that's Black Lives Matters, and that's everything else. It's the news, it's CNN, it's all of them. And I'm going to be talking about that on GOCC Media. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have him say what he have to say, and then we're going to have the discussion on whether or not that makes sense tomorrow night on GOCC Media, not here, GOCC Media. Okay. And let me say this, brothers and sisters. It's time for us to expand our mentality. And see, that's the destructive mindset they know our people holds. Why? I don't have to agree with every idea of Dave Chappelle to point out what's practical and logical and makes sense. I'm not going to discard him because all of his ideas don't align with mine. If that's the case, everyone should be discarded. There's no one you agree with 100%. There's no place you agree 100%. So when you start saying, well, he support this and he support that, that means you missed it. So you need to look at our broadcast tomorrow night to understand. Okay, to understand the heights of what was said and how he was able to allow a conversation. It doesn't matter what his overarching ideas are concerning lesbians and gays and all that. Okay, it doesn't matter what that is. A lot made sense practically, showing the hypocrisy of Me Too, the hypocrisy of the feminist movement, the hypocrisy of the LGBTQ, and the hypocrisy that comes with the political agendas of what? Protecting certain classes of people in a free society. So expand your mind beyond just, well, I don't agree with everything Dave Chappelle says. That's not the point. The point is a lot of what he said is in agreement with the Bible. And I'm going to bring out the Bible points. The stuff that he disagreed with in the Bible, I may have another show on that. But politically, he allowed these conversations to happen Because while we're sitting back looking at these people as victims, they are decimating our families. We're being decimated. Okay? Now, I'm sorry. I have to segue to Patreon. Go to Patreon.com/AGathering144. I have a lot to unpack. Again, the Hebrew and Bible Academy. That's right. October 31st. You can enroll there at historytimes.org. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed day. I'll see you over in Patreon. Shalom.